Well, hello, and how wonderful that I can be with you again tonight. And I've been praying and waiting before the Lord, and I think He's given me something pretty good, okay? I'd like to ask you a question tonight. Do you have a well-defined purpose for your life? You might say, oh, I have a lot of purposes. No, one. Yeah. If it's a worthy purpose and you just sort of have a shotgun approach toward a whole number of purposes, it's a very good chance that none of them will be fulfilled. And it was Paul who said, "This one thing I do. I have to forget the things that are behind. I have to reach toward the things that are ahead, and I have to press toward them." Because if it's a good purpose, a holy purpose, believe me, it'll take everything you've got to bring it to pass. Well, such is our hero today. Our hero today is a man named Nehemiah. Nehemiah did not come back after the 70 years of captivity when Nebuchadnezzar, the bad guy, carried them away. And he carried them away for 70 years. Well, finally the 70 years are over. The Persians are now in charge, and they give them all permission, go home. Well, of course, home was Jerusalem. But when Nebuchadnezzar came to carry them out, he messed the place almost beyond recognition. He tore down the walls, because there were no walls around the city of Jerusalem anymore. And there was no temple. It was a pile of rubble. Well, it was a sad homecoming. The people were glad that they were back in their own land, but my goodness, they didn't know what to do nor which end was up. But you know, God cares about His people, and He cares about the land of Israel. And we know that there's a lot right now that's focusing on the land of Israel. But I tell you, in the end, they'll come on all right. So this is what happened. There were some travelers that had come through there. And they were on their way to Shushan, to the Persian, which used to be Babylon. But anyway, they were on through there. They said, let's go see the Capitol building. Oh yeah, let's do. That was famous, wasn't it? Yeah. So they go through the film, and while they're going through, the man who was taking care of the king, and his name is Artaxerxes, built down. Remember the one that was there with Esther? Well, this was about a third generation after Esther. So here, these travelers had come through Jerusalem, and now they're going through, and here sits Nehemiah, and he is taking care of the present king, and he's what they call a cupbearer. A cupbearer had a very prestigious job, and he was to see to it that everything negative possible would be kept away from the king. And he was always tried to be sure that his cup was filled with something that was delicious to eat and good, tasty food and everything. And the king really liked him, and he liked the king. Well, when these travelers came out, they said, well, how do you do? And so he said, you came from Jerusalem? Yes. What's going on in Jerusalem? Oh, he said, you can't even dream what it's like. He said, there's nothing but rubble. Really? He said, what about the people? Well, he said, the people are discouraged. There's no leadership, and the enemy has taken over while they were gone, they put in the enemy. They were called Sanballat and Tobiah, and they were not good. And they were against the Jews. They didn't want the Jews to build anything. Well, there wasn't anything there for them to build. So he got to thinking about it, and it bothered him so bad. We're talking about this well-defined purpose. For 3 days, he laid, he fasted, he prayed, and he said, Lord, is there anything I can do? Well, all of a sudden, the king, they observed him, and he said, why is your face sad? And it scared him. He thought, I'm going to lose my job, and I'm supposed to make him happy. But he said, I can't. My heart is so heavy. I cannot when my people are suffering like that. So he said, and he said to his queen, because she was sitting there too, he said, this is nothing else but sorrow of heart. And then his heart began to beat and thought, oh dear. He said, tell me what the problem is. He said, how can I rest when I know what my people are going through back in Jerusalem? And he told them the whole story. He said, I don't suppose you'd let me go. Maybe I could do something about it. I have a heart for it. He said, would you come back? He said, I would. He said, you know what? I'm going to let you go back. And he said, not only that, he said, I'm going to give you a lot of people to help you to get there. You need some protection. He said, there's a lot of bandits out there. I'm going to give you bandits. I'm going to give you timbers. I'm going to give you all kinds of supplies that would help to put, what is it now you want? A wall. There's no wall. You've got to have a wall around Jerusalem. And he said, the wall's in rubble. He said, I know exactly what to do. So he gets all of these things arranged, and even sent officers and horses, everything that he could put. When your purpose and God's purpose are one, great favor begins to come your way. So he had favor. So he gets back in Jerusalem, and so he didn't want anybody to know why he was there. He didn't have a plan yet. And so he said, okay, now he waited till nighttime. He was there for about several days. And he said, I just took a few men with me. I didn't take the nobles. I didn't take the hierarchies and the people that were in the, upper echelon. He said, no, I took just a few men. And he said, I walked around in the rubble. I kicked my heels in it. And he wept. He said, I wept and I cried. And he said, God, give me a plan. God said, I will. So, it just seemed to begin to fall together in his plans, what he would do. And, it was really, really quite remarkable how he absolutely knew what to do. He had never built a wall before. A brick wall? Never. He had never been in charge of anything like that. But all of a sudden, he knew what to do. When your cause and God's cause are the same, you know what to do. And that's what happened. And so he said, all right, now, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do level by level. And he said, when we get done with one part of the level, he said, and we've gone the whole route of the temple, or of the Jerusalem, he said, then we will go to the next level. I think there were about 8 levels, and they kept, he said we would keep going up. Okay, got that. And he said, another thing, we're going to go by families. Now, isn't that a good thing? Who would have thought about taking your kids to build a wall? But you know what? There was a real psychology in that, because when you fight as a family, you'll fight hard. It'll be imperative with you. And so they did. And that not everybody was happy. Now, of course, the Israelites were happy, but there had been some people that had gotten into the government while they were gone. And when they said, what are those Jews doing? What are they doing? Why, he said a fox would knock that down. So they tried all kinds. They tried mockery. They tried threats. They tried telling them they don't have the papers for it. And they tried well, come on down and talk to us. We'll just reason together. Everything you could think of, they tried it. Well, I tell you, you couldn't budge, Nehemiah. He said, I'm not coming down to talk to you. I'm doing a good work. And so back he went, and it said that some of them would watch. They'd have to watch because there were too many enemies that had gotten in while they were gone. And so it says they would watch. And they had a weapon up there, and they would hold the weapon and they'd watch. And then there were others that would hold the trowel, and there were the others. And even the children had their part to play. And they worked, and they worked, and they worked. 2, 3, 4, 5, and pretty soon the Bible said the wall was finished. Well, what a grand day. But I tell you, it wasn't over. No, they had to deal with those people that were in charge. They had to get them out of there. They had brought in strange wives and strange religions and everything. Out. Got to go. Got to go. Even on that one part, I thought it was funny that one day, while he was calling all the people again, and the Bible said he even got up and made a pulpit and preached to the people. Nehemiah did. But some of them were giving him a bad time, not of Israel, but of the other group. And it said he grabbed him by the hair of the head and said, you have no part in Jerusalem whatsoever. He cleaned house. He really did. He cleaned house. Well, I couldn't help but think when we first came to this city that there were just a few that really could carry that purpose. And I was going through my husband's book, one of his books one day, and he said, God is crystallizing a purpose in me, and I feel like to fulfill it, I must be here a long time. We were there for 30 years. But we started with those 40. And so you know what they did? The Bible says the people had a mind to work. Same thing that we said, you know what, we got to start in. We got to clean this rubble out. And he said my office was a mess. And he said, all I did was just have to tell them. They came with their saws, they came with their buckets, they came with their paint. And he said the whole backyard was just full of people. You know what? It went from 40 to 100. One day I came in and I said, where's the back of the church? He said, well, I have to make room for them. You didn't ask me. And he said, honey, the people that come are going to pay for it. I said, but I want to see those people. He said, you will. Wasn't very long. They put those bleachers up. they filled up those bleachers with 300 people. And pretty soon they said, you know, we can't take any more. We had a revival of hippies at that time, and so he said, we got to move. And we heard about some property where our church is today. We went up to 1,000. Pretty soon we went up to 2,000. You see, the principle, when you get a divine presence and your work done in God's way, God is your partner. He will see to it that the dream that he puts in your heart will come to pass. Now let me go back. What is your divine purpose? Oh, you say, I've got a lot of them. No, you're one. One thing, Paul said, and that will I seek after. And he did. Paul, someday we'll get to ask him all about it. Tell us about it, Paul. He fulfilled God's purpose for his life. Now, I've asked you about your purpose. Are you ready for a divine purpose? You have to know him for him to be your partner. And tonight he would love to be your partner. I give you an invitation. Lord, make yourself real to somebody tonight that's just sort of teetering. Do I? Do I not? Do I? May they say, I do. Lord Jesus, come in to my life. Got a little song here. You may remember it. Maybe you sang it when you were a kid. We'll work till Jesus comes. Till Jesus comes. Till Jesus comes. We'll work till Jesus comes. And we'll be gathered home. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.